welcome you all to today's 11th Alumni Lecture Series initiated by our department, where we have our honor to have Mr. Vinay Pandey with us. Mr. Pandey has a diverse background and extensive experience in various fields, including education, mountaineering, and sports. He completed his post-graduation from Lucknow University in organic chemistry and went on to receive the DJ's Baton of Honor Award for being the best officer cadet NCC officer at the Lawrence School, Salabar, and then pursued a basic mountaineering course from NIM Uttarakhand. Mr. Vinay Pandey has served as the headmaster of the Lawrence School, Salabar, and has been a founding member of the Boarding Schools Association of India. He has also been a founding headmaster of Sarda Birla Academy, Bengaluru, and served at the Doon School, Dehradun for 16 years as housemaster and later senior deputy headmaster. He also participated in some important international events in Holland, Switzerland, Montreal, Melbourne, and many more. He has also been to CERN in Geneva and NASA in Orlando. Currently, Mr. Pandey conducts professional development workshops for teachers and has conducted workshops at various prestigious schools, including the Doon School, Dehradun, and the Pine Grove School, Dharampur, Himachal Pradesh. He has also been a keynote speaker at various conferences, including the Faculty Development Program hosted by the Birla Education Trust Pilani and the leadership talks on decoding the National Education Policy 2020 organized by India International Education Council. He has a keen interest in drama, trekking, and sports like soccer, cricket, and hockey. He has attended international conferences and led webinars on teacher development, where he shared his expertise and insights on a variety of topics. Today he will speak on the topic, Theatre in Education, Breaking the Fourth Wall. We are sure that his experience and knowledge will be valuable to all of us. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Vinay Pandey. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible at the back? Yes. Well, this is one of the trainings I got not as a teacher, but in theatre, and later on also as the NCC officer, how to throw your voice. So when Professor Mishra said for the caller mic, I was confident that I can actually have 20 more rows here and can still be audible. I think it's been an honor to be here today. It's been about 39 years that I passed out from this place, and the fond memories come back. As soon as I was approaching, in fact, when I got down yesterday and took the metro, and I'm staying at Indranagar, the metro passed to university. I said, my God, metro next to university, and I was looking for the chemistry department block, which I could identify from the train. So it's been, and in fact, we went down to see the lecture theatre where we had lots of our classes. It's been a long journey. When I left university in 84, I was still preparing for civil services, and there was a time when one of my relatives said, while you are preparing, why don't you also teach at some place? At least you'll be in touch with your subject. And with that intention, I joined one of leading residential schools in the country. That's the Lawrence School, Sanar, which is in Himachal Pradesh. And initially I thought maybe I'll stay there for a year or two while I'm preparing for civil services and later move to wherever I get through. But the school, the teaching got so much of me into my system that I said, I think I'm enjoying it. Because there I was not just teaching chemistry, I was doing a lot of other things. So whether NCC that came to my life, dramatics that came to my life, or the mountaineering which came to my life, was all thanks to the school. And I still remember the first lesson I took, class 11 at the Lawrence School, Sanar. The topic was atomic structure. And I was a postgraduate, and I thought I know it all. But I still remember I was holding a CBSE textbook in my hand because I was not very sure how do you teach. And I would read a few lines from the book. My hands were actually shaking a bit because most of those students were maybe 5 or 6 years younger than I was, and some of them as tall as I am. And I would read those lines, then I would put the book down, explain a little bit, turn around, go to the board with my back towards my class, write a few things or make a structure, and then come back. 40 minutes got over, and one of the boys after the class came to me and said, "Sir, were you nervous?" I said, No, not at all. I was not nervous. He said, "Sir, you were nervous. You could make that out. And you didn't even look towards us. Your entire focus was either on the textbook or on the board where you were writing, and not even once you saw towards us." And that was my first lesson into teaching, the importance of eye contact. And gradually I got into dramatics. And it was only when I later moved to the Doon School, I thought, why not dramatics into classroom teaching? And chemistry, I was reading some posts which we have, a group that Professor Mishra has created. Somebody said the teachers are not being paid well, they're just getting 15,000, which is actually a fact. In schools, I don't know so much about college, the maximum a chemistry teacher or for that matter any other subject teacher will get is 15,000-20,000. Very good school, maybe 30,000-40,000. That's it. But the fact remains that chemistry is still dreaded by students. And I often used to think, why are they dreading? So a few things that came to my mind. One was that we make them memorize radicals, valencies, chemical equations. And at that stage of class 7-8, when concepts are still gaining roots, if there's a pressure of knowing radicals, valencies, memorizing them, writing equations, balancing them, suddenly the interest weans off. Because they think chemistry is just memorizing equations and knowing radicals and valencies, whereas chemistry is much more. And that is where I started experimenting with drama in classroom. And in my opinion, a good teacher has to be a good actor. So what I did, I picked up 10 different aspects of theatre, dramatics, and tried to bring them in, wean them into my teaching. So what I'm going to share with you all today is my own experience as a teacher who gradually brought in theatre, drama into the classroom. Not that the chemistry changed overnight, but the method of teaching was different and the reception was, I think, far, far better. So I often say that we are like trees. For trees, we don't say trees are growing. We just say that we are not, they're not getting older, they're growing. So we also say that we are not getting older, we are growing. Each day as a teacher, we are like a student. We learn from our students. You have to have a free, open mind, to be successful as a teacher. That's been my experience. I also feel that an inspiring teacher is not born. An inspiring teacher evolves, right? And I go by this saying by Gail Godwin, a very well-known American novelist, who said once that good teaching is 1/4 preparation and 3/4 theatre. Many of you may not agree with me, right? But this is my own experience that theatre, drama, or aspects of drama make the lesson, the classroom, far more interesting than it is what it is without it. So this is what I'm going to talk to you about, breaking the fourth wall. Now let me first explain it to you what I mean by breaking the fourth wall. Those of you who have some idea about dramatics will know that, of course everyone knows, in a theatre or a stage, you have 3 walls. There's a wall behind you, there's a wall on your side left and on your side right. And there you have the audience. So for example, I am on the stage, I have 3 walls, And as per the convention of theatre, while the audience can see the people performing on the stage, the actors, by convention, not supposed to see the audience in front. So there's supposed to be an invisible wall between the performers on the stage and the audience who is in the front. They may know their people, but they don't make eye contact and they don't try to interact. Though the modern drama is changing, there's a lot of interaction between the people on the stage and the audience. Now, if a classroom situation is like a typical theatre, that you are on the stage, the teacher, and you have a class, and for you this class is the audience which is not visible, I think the real sense of teaching and learning goes away. So the idea is, how do we break this fourth wall? How do we make it disappear so that me as a teacher and you as students are one entity? In fact, the pedagogical changes which are taking place, there was a time the teacher was called the sage on the stage. So the teacher will be on the stage and he or she was the sage who knew it all. And of course the resources were limited. There were only textbooks, there was no Google, there were no such search engines. Today the teacher is more of a facilitator. So we call the teacher guide by the side, not the sage on the stage. And for that, I think this fourth wall needs to break. How do we break it? So the first aspect that I take into account is the script for a play. I've just mentioned three very well known plays. Adrak ke Panje, Jis Lahore Ne Dekhya, Wo Janmya Hi Nahi, and The Mousetrap. All of them are very well known plays. And what do they have in common? The script. Very powerful script. Apart from the fact that acting, wherever it has been staged, has been fabulous. But one important thing common to all of them is their script. Similarly, for a teacher, for learning and teaching to take place effectively, the script is the lesson plan. Now, how evolved is your lesson plan? That will make an impact into your classroom teaching. Now, of course, a school classroom teaching and a college classroom teaching are different. But I think a lesson plan is necessary everywhere. So, I was made to believe in the beginning that you should know your subject and then you can enter the class and teach them. And I realized, no. Before coming here also, I opened my laptop and went through my presentation. I have done it numerous times. But I need to have a plan. What am I going to talk about? What will be done in the first 5-10 minutes? What will be done in the next 10 minutes? Am I going to show an experiment today? Or am I going to just talk and talk? If I just talk and talk, the class will be boring. So how do I work it out that lesson plan is important? So for us, teachers, lesson plan is the script. So if you have a solid lesson plan, you actually conquer the first step. That means effective teaching and learning can easily take place. Actor versus teacher. Now what do I mean by this? Since I say every good teacher needs to be a good actor, I've just done a kind of a comparison. Any good actor has to have three basic qualities: native ability, the talent, the training, and the practice. So for example, if we take the known actors, Vicky Kaushal, Nawazuddin Siddiqui, and Amitabh Bachchan, right? All of them have one thing in common: they're all talented. Why am I saying Nawazuddin, Vicky Kaushal as teacher, Siddiqui as good teacher, and Amitabh Bachchan as great teacher? Because Amitabh Bachchan has evolved, and Vicky Kaushal is the new kid on the block. He's just been there for a few years, but they all have talent. We all agree. Training. What is the training for the actors? They do acting. Some of them may be from National School of Drama or maybe some other place, but they learn the basic traits, tricks of dramatics, of theatre and of movies. And finally, practice. So for them, practices, the movies they do, the more they act, the more they get into a role, it's practice for them. And here I have taken the example of cricket. Vinod Kambli, Sanjay Manjrekar, Sachin Tendulkar. All of them are cricketers, incidentally all from Maharashtra. In terms of native ability, can you tell me who was the most talented amongst these three? Sometimes people may say Sachin Tendulkar. No, Vinod Kambli. When they were in school, I think their record was broken recently, a year or two back, but they held a record of school level cricket, and at that stage everyone felt Vinod Kambli is the cricketer for future. Sachin Tendulkar was considered to be good, but where they stand now? Why? Because Vinod Kambli did not follow the discipline required for that level of cricket. He failed. Manjrekar was good, right? He followed the system, but he didn't go to the level as Tendulkar did. And Tendulkar, we all know, is demigod in India. How many of you know that when Tendulkar would enter the cricket pitch, those who have been watching him earlier, he would come in like this and he would look up towards the sky.
Gratitude.
Do you know why?
Gratitude to the audience.
No, ma'am. People say gratitude to the God, some say he's remembering his parents, seeking their blessings. No. Why is he looking up and he's doing like this? He's not looking up like this and doing this, he's doing this.
He
Why?
wants to reach the heights.
Sorry?
He wants to reach the heights.
No. No. It's something to do with biology.
Okay.
Pupil dilation. So you are coming out, you were sitting in a dressing room or a room where the light was different. Whether it's a day match or a day and night match, the outside light is different. When you rush into the pitch and you're facing somebody throwing at 150 kilometers per hour, you may be blinded in the beginning because your pupils have not got adjusted to that light. So what he does, or used to do, was adjusted his eyes, pupils to that light. That was the level of focus. And once you have that dedication, that focus, you know the difference. And same applies to teaching. Like I said, an inspiring teacher evolves. You don't evolve just by knowing your subject. You need to do experiments, you need to bring about changes in your teaching styles, and gradually, from a teacher, you become a good teacher to a great teacher. Okay. Audience versus students. If I am performing a drama here, I have to keep my audience motivated, engrossed, and appreciated. Because if I don't do these things, I'll lose them. Because if the script is weak, the eye contact is not there, I'm not trying to, motivate them anyway, gradually I'll start losing them. How do we do it? Now, of course, like I said, a college level teaching is different, but the interest is generated at those grassroots level, right? So if we have to introduce a concept, and suppose I have to talk of contraction expansion, I can go very theoretical by saying, this is what happens when you heat a gas, the molecules absorb the energy, they start vibrating, but they are just unable to figure that out. However, if I can show them something,
expansion and contraction. If you take another balloon and load up as hard as you can, and then leave this balloon in the sun, it will very likely.
now these kinds of things actually capture the imagination of those young
And
minds.
will sometimes even burst if they get hot. Because the air in a balloon, which is of course a gas, consists, like all gases, of molecules flying about in every direction. When you've got
And we are lucky in today's time, there is no dearth of these
they
things.
push quite hard against the inside of the balloon. That's why its skin is stretched so tight.
Now when I taught states of matter in a junior class,
So they
I
bounce
would
harder
begin
and
by,
more often
I'll just show
against
you what
the
I did
inside
in the
of the
beginning.
balloon.
I didn't go to the properties of states of matter straight away. A rap.
Expansion and contraction.
So, these videos or these kind of visuals don't need to be 10-15 minutes. No, not at all. They need to be short, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Capture the imagination, get the thing in, get the interest generated, and then gradually bring in your bouncers. Because if you start off with the bouncers and googlies straight away, you're out. Straight away. So you have to generate that kind of motivation, engross them, and they need to appreciate that. Now, though Professor Mishra said there is no chemistry, but pardon me, being a chemistry teacher, I brought in a bit of chemistry, and I'm sure everyone present here is too simple a concept to understand, right? Chemical bonding, ionic bonding, for example. So if I have to really teach it at that level, beginning level, I'll teach them about how certain atoms tend to lose electrons, certain atoms tend to gain electrons, positive charge, negative charge, ionic attraction, all that. While I'm doing that, I can make or take help of such visuals once in a while. So one atom is telling the others, I am about to lose an electron. The second one says, are you sure? And the first one who's lost it says, I'm positive. Or those who know James Bond movies, my name is Bond, ionic bond. Taken, not shared. Because Bond's typical dialogue was about martini. Shaken, not stirred. Right? So just to catch their imagination, their interest, it's always good to show these. Pragati ma'am and Shashi ma'am are here. Okay. So I requested Professor Mishra if I could have two pictures of two friends in real life to just explain the concept. So if I'm teaching in, don't worry, ma'am, this idea is not to demean you at all. If I'm teaching a classroom, I would pick up any two students in my class. So today my class is this. So my two students are Pragati and Shashi. And I'm trying to explain the concept of ionic bonding. So I say Pragati and Shashi are very good friends. And one evening, both were very hungry and said they were staying in a hostel. Nothing was available in their room. The cafeteria was shut. So they decided to step out of their hostel and go to a nearby eatery where they got Maggie. And they were both very fond of Maggie. They reached the shop and they asked the cost, and the shopkeeper says, 50 rupees ki plate aayi. So they start searching their pockets. While Pragati could manage getting 75 bucks from her pocket, Shashi had only 25. Now there were two options. One is, Pragati tells Shashi, sorry, you go back, I'll eat Maggie, you come some other time. But they're friends. So what they do is, Pragati, out of her 75, gives 25 to Shashi. Now Pragati still has her 50, while Shashi has also got her 50 now. One atom has donated, the other atom has accepted. Both shake hands and remain good friends. Bonding is forever. Simple way to explain ionic bonding. After this, you come up with your concepts of, outermost shell electron, attraction is more, and nuclear distance. All this can come later. This way, a child will never forget the basic concept of bonding, because they will forget the definitions. But they'll remember what Pragati and Shashi did on that day. So, okay, one more thing. Let's talk of covalent bonding. So they went out again one more evening. They went to the shop, and this time Pragati realized she has no money with her, while Shashi had 50 bucks with her. So what they did? Again, option was, Pragati, go back. Sorry, you don't have money. Can't eat. Shashi bought a plate of Maggie for those 50 rupees and shared the plate. So it's like both atoms contributing an electron, shared between the two atoms. A covalent bond is formed, and they are friends forever, sharing. Third scenario, they went to that shop again. My God, every time they're so forgetful, they don't know how to count, just to carry 50 bucks each. They went to the same shop, This time what happened? What do you think must have happened? Or if we just kind of put it the other way, that the previous time they went, she had 25 and she had 25. That I think will make more sense, right? So she had 25, she had 25, both pulled in. This time, now she has 50. One of them has 50, other doesn't have any. So the pair has come from one single atom to a coordinate model. Right? Shared by both, but contribution by one. Right? So the basic idea behind this is that these don't have any relevance in the field of chemistry, because you can't write this as an answer if you ask how do you define ionic bond or covalent or coordinate. But the child remains embedded with this idea, this concept forever. And all they have to do is then kind of think related to the concept that will taught later. Right? Thank you, ma'am. Similarly, once in a while, there's no harm in cracking a few jokes in the class. Right? Now, jokes don't mean, you crack some PJs, but these are actually chemistry PJs. Two chemists walk into a bar. One says I'll have H2O, the other one says I'll have H2O2. And the second one dies. I don't have to explain. Though in my class I'll have to explain. If H2O is water and H2O2 is hydrogen peroxide, what is H2O4? Come on, they're all brains of chemistry here. What is H2O4? Don't tax your brain so much. It's for drinking, bathing, lots of daily activities. H2O4. It's not chemical formula. What did the thermometer say to the measuring cylinder? You may be graduated, but I have several degrees. So, and there can be lots and lots of them. Why did the bear dissolve in water? Easy. What kind of substances dissolve in water? Polar. I dare you to lower your body temperature to absolute zero. It's okay. 0K. And the last one, I would tell another chemistry joke, but all good ones are gone. So I'm not saying that put a slide and put 20 jokes at once, go. Once in a while to make the class lively, to interact with the children, because what we do, at least the school teachers do, is they are so much in a hurry to finish the syllabus, which is actually a problem, but you can always find a minute or two to at least relate with the students. And once you do that, the class will really appreciate your teaching. Voice modulation, I find this very, very important. I have been an alumnus here in this college. I have been to lots of other schools also. And I still remember teachers, I'm not saying those who had loud volume when they spoke, but they could modulate their voice. Right? And Professor Mishra and I were talking of people like, I remember Mr. V.K. Pandey, Professor Khare, they would do certain things even at post-graduation level where the classes were really interesting for us. Right? It breaks the monotony. So just imagine I'm a chemistry teacher and I stand like this and say, today I'm going to talk to you about the various types of bonding. Let's talk of ortho, para and meta. So when you have ortho, meta, there's no eye contact, the volume is low, and let's face it, we have teachers like this. Or I was just talking to him, God made us so in peace. He would come in the classroom, two of them, one would just straight away go to the board and start writing, copy down, and we would just copy it down. And the second one came, he had some notes which he prepared maybe 20 years back or 30 years back. He would come, open the first page and start dictating. Not even once we looked up. Notes done, in between if there was a structure to be done, and then manuscript closed and he popped. We had no connect with those teachers. So something which I could have gone back and copied from IL Finar, or we used to call it the Bible. Right? I'm sure it is still called the Bible. But then we wanted the teacher to interact with us. And then we said it's okay. That's why I was telling Sir, Professor Mishra, that this class down below didn't have grills earlier. And we remember, I was not one of those, but I joined the gang once in a while. We used to sleep out of the last window because there were no grills. Because the lectures got so boring that, you know, the calculus and all came down to earth to bless us, but we said, sorry, not interested. Right? It keeps the students engaged and it invokes interest. Now I'm going to show you a small clipping, nothing to do with chemistry, sir. But I'm sure you know this, you have seen this movie maybe. Somebody in the Indian cinema who is known for his voice modulation and the kind of emotions he can convey through his voice. Who am I talking about? No, not the singer, actor. We don't have to emote so much. Right? This is movie. But in the classroom, like I said, if I just stand here and go monotonous, one tone, low, I lose my class. So I'm not saying shout, but there has to be a voice modulation. At times you need to raise your voice. So while I'm teaching, I'll say ionic bonding is a very strong kind of bond because, right now, what happens, say for example, you're not, but say he was feeling a bit drowsy. The moment I say because, what he did immediately? He did this. Because I was looking towards him and I raised my voice. Even if he was a bit drowsy or he was not paying attention, sir, मेरी तरफ देख रहे हैं, कम से कम सर तो हिला ही दूं, समझ में आया नहीं आया उस बात की बात है. So what I can do is through my emotions, my eye contact, through my voice modulation, I can keep my class captured because I have to keep my class captured to motivate them for this lesson. Eye contact, I have already spoken about this. Necessary, जब हम मूवी देखते हैं नहीं कहते हैं इस हीरो और हीरोइन के बीच में परफेक्ट केमिस्ट्री है. मैं शुरू में सोचता था केमिस्ट्री कहाँ से आ गई. आप में किसी को पता है क्या केमिस्ट्री है जो कहते हैं हीरो हीरोइन के बीच में केमिस्ट्री है? आप सब लोग तो ज्ञाता हो, पंडित हो केमिस्ट्री के, बताइए कोई कि क्या है केमिस्ट्री? Anyone? I'm sure you have heard of this now. Chemistry, perfect chemistry between the two. What is this chemistry? Coordination, okay. Understanding. Bonding. Now, eye contact. Now, Amitabh and I are good friends, right? If I have to have a chemistry with him as a true friend, I have to have an eye contact while I talk to him. Because if I'm not talking to the person feels ये तो ध्यान ही नहीं दे रहा, इसका तो मेरी तरफ attention ही नहीं, right? In a classroom, if you're not engrossing the minds of the students, you're not making an eye contact, the chemistry between you and your student is lost. So all that is, I think, meant by chemistry here is, which you all said, coordination, bonding, the eye contact, that is all very necessary to keep the two together. That is the one which is going to break the fourth wall. Because if that doesn't happen, the fourth wall remains, you remain as an actor on the stage, and they continue to remain as the audience. And of course, when you see into their eyes, look into the eyes, many a times you get to see the mood, the needs, and it gives them the confidence to interact with you. Most of the time what happens is in a classroom, why do we lose students? And let me tell you one example here. It was this classroom down below. We were being taught by one of our very senior teachers. And I asked a question, I raised my hand. I was not one of those very bright students. And immediately, sir said, "Shut up! Shut up!" So I was like, what have I done wrong? I raised my hand to ask a question. "Where were you when I was teaching you? Where was your attention?" No. I said, "Sir, I was paying attention, but I couldn't understand." "Shut up! Shut up!" And I think that was the last time I raised my hand in class. I would go to my own friends. We had the likes of Dr. Vinod, Bhavkani and all, Sunil, Pande, who were very good in the subject, I would prefer to go to my friends to get something explained, but I never asked a question. Never. But when I became a teacher, I realized I have to encourage it. And amongst all of the pedagogical methods that we follow, questioning is considered to be one of the most important ones. Unless there is a dialogue between the student and the teacher through questions and answers, the learning is incomplete. When I was teaching at Doon and in Sanar, some teacher would say, my class is so good, there's pin drop silence. I said, ma'am, sir, it's not a good class. Because if there is learning and teaching going on in a class, there has to be some noise. I'm not saying chaos, but learning and teaching cannot be under pin drop silent situation, which means you're just a sage on the stage and they're just being the audience, right? So all these things are very important in a classroom. Body language, how you portray yourself on the stage. Even today, I don't talk about my age. Of course, I don't dye my hair, but I still portray myself as energetic, vibrant, empathetic listener. Now, we need to understand the difference between empathy and sympathy, right? We need to understand the difference between hearing and listening. Ma'am, what is the difference between hearing and listening? Sorry if I pinpoint somebody and ask a question.
That's okay. When we talk of...
Ma'am, please teach it.
Fine.
You are my student, but you are still ma'am.
That's okay. And we share something common. I studied at Wellness.
All right.
So, when I talk of, when I'm listening, I'm paying attention to the word and imbibing all the meaning behind it. And when I'm just hearing it, it's just a mechanical process by which it's coming down to my eardrums and I'm perceiving the alphabets and getting it.
Absolutely. You're not internalizing it.
Yeah.
So perfect. So as a teacher, you need to show empathy, not sympathy. मुझे बहुत ही कुछ ही साल पहले पता चला, जैसे हम सिंपैथी को तो कहते हैं समानुभूति, एम्पैथी के लिए क्या हिंदी का वर्ड है, मुझे कुछ ही साल पहले पता है। समानुभूति, तो एक तो है सहानुभूति, दैट इज सिंपैथी, समानुभूति इज एम्पैथी. So as a teacher, you need to show empathy and you got to be a good listener. And like ma'am very rightly said, listening means eye contact has to be there and you need to show that body language that yes, I'm understanding what is your problem. Now if you're talking to me and I take out my cell phone and say, bolo kya dikkat batao, kya baat hai, haan theek hai, suno, bolo. The child will never come back to you again because he's not interested, right? And it sends positive signals to the students who in turn find it easy to respond and communicate. So I think this again, body language is important. Being in your character and living the character. I always maintain that when you're out of character, if you are in a play, the play is ruined. It's finished. And if you're in the classroom and you're not in the character, class is also gone. So for example, if you're a dean in the college or you're a head of the department or like in our boarding school, we were housemasters, if you enter the class with the crown of these positions, not as a teacher, there will be slight problem. Because inside the classroom, you're just a teacher. And the student should see you as their teacher rather than the positions you're holding. Secondly, you may have differences with your spouse. You may have had a fight in the morning with the spouse. Every household has it, right? And if there is no fight happening, again say, hope something is not wrong. Because I think it's very natural if there is a minor tiff or fight between the husband and the wife. You may have had some encounter, a nasty encounter with a member of staff earlier in the day. The point is, no matter what that situation was, when you enter the classroom, cleanse your mind, clean your mind of all these issues. You just tell yourself, listen, I'll sort out these issues once I'm out of the classroom. In the classroom, I'm not going to worry about why I had a fight. मुझे 2 किलो आलू लाने को कहा था सुबह मैं भूल गया, ठीक है मैं शाम को 4 ले आऊंगा. But that time I will not think about it. I had a tiff or an argument with a fellow colleague or somebody. okay, I'll handle that later, but inside the classroom, I'm not going to think about it. In the classroom, it's me and my class, my subject, and the environment that I have. So this is very important that you have to live that character. Similarly, in the classroom, your character is you're the teacher, right? You have to live that character to make the classroom teaching effective. Improvisation. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it is required a lot in school teaching. Not so much in college teaching, I would say, because a college teaching has a very different structure, right? Like I said, I don't know what's the situation now. Not just me who was quiet after that day, most of us didn't ask questions. So we just came to the classroom, we had to ensure the attendance is there, and we just sat in the class. Very few teachers entertained any kind of questioning. So for us, the teacher just came, so he or she had to not improvise anything. He or she came, delivered the lecture and went on. Whereas in the school teaching is very different, and today school teaching has become that much more difficult because children and their parents don't make it easy for a teacher to work. I'm sure you would have heard terms like helicoptering parents, right? Have you heard of a term called drone parents? Because helicoptering parent, helicopter just hovers at one point. Drones can go to different places because they want to intervene and interfere in everything, right? So it's not easy. But coming back to improvisation, how I learned the tricks of this was through drama again. And I recollect one play we did, a staff play in Sanar, in which I was acting like I was in the role of an old tailor master, वो लखनऊ के पुराने टेलर मास्टर थे, और वो कमर झुकी हुई उनकी पूरी, और वो लट्ठी लेके हाथ में ऐसे वॉक करते हैं। तो जिस दिन मेन परफॉर्मेंस थी, उसमें कहीं एक सीन पे गुस्से में मुझे वो लाठी पटनी थी। वो जोश में तो मैं था, मैं कैरेक्टर में था अपने, मैं ऐसे घुमा घामा, मैंने गुस्से में लाठी पटकी और लाठी टूट गई, जबकि उस सीन में लाठी टूटनी नहीं थी। अब दो तरीके थे मेरे पास, या तो सब चीज वहां फ्रीज हो जाती, क्योंकि मैं फ्रीज होता तो बाकी सब कंफ्यूज होते। अभी कंफ्यूज में भी हुए, कैसे मैं बताता हूँ। मैंने वो लाठी उठाई तो मुझे एकदम याद आया कि प्रैक्टिस जब हम करते थे तो एक और लाठी थी पीछे जिसको मैं यूज करता था, इसको नहीं, ये तो बड़ी पॉलिश वॉलिश करी थी। मैंने कहा लाहौल मिला कुव्वत, ये आजकल पता नहीं कि लकड़ियों की लाठियां बना देते हैं, हल्के से मारो टूट जाती है। और मैंने वो लाठी उठाई, मैं पीछे गया, दूसरी लाठी लेके आ गया, अब ठीक है। और हुआ क्या, इन 8-10 सेकंड में जो मेरे साथी कलाकार थे वो थोड़े कंफ्यूज हो गए, ये तो था ही नहीं, ये ना लाठी टूटने का सीन था ना पीछे जाने का सीन था। तो पर ये था, वो समझदार थे, सब एडल्ट्स थे, हम लोग टीचर्स थे, तो समझ गए कि ये थोड़ा इम्प्रोवाइजेशन हुआ। पर ऑडियंस को ये जरा सा भी आभास नहीं हुआ ये लाठी टूटने का सीन एक्चुअली सीन नहीं था, तो ये हो गया। तो क्लासरूम में भी ऐसा बहुत होता है, कई बार आपको कहना होता है मुझे ये यहाँ से पॉइंटर उठाना है, और जो आपकी स्टेज की टीम थी वो पॉइंटर रखना भूल गई। तो दो ही तरीके, या तो आप कहते यार पॉइंटर नहीं है, इधर देखा रहे भाई पॉइंटर रखो पॉइंटर रखो। उसमें क्या है, ऑडियंस को भी समझ में आ गया कि गड़बड़ हो गई है। एक प्ले हम कर रहे थे देहरादून में, जिसमें एक सीन में एक सह कलाकार थी हमारी, उनके सामने सैंडविच रखी थी जो खानी नहीं थी, उनको शायद बहुत टेम्पटिंग लगी। उन्होंने, क्योंकि डायलॉग मेरे चल रहे थे, उन्होंने सैंडविच उठाई और एक बाइट ले ली, और जैसी मेरी लाइन खत्म हुई उनको बोलना। अब वो कैसे बोलती, उनके मुंह के अंदर सैंडविच थी उस समय, तो वो उन्होंने किसी तरह से निकली, पर उसमें गैप आ गया ना, वो गैप आया तो जिस तीसरे ने बोला तो वो भूल गया, वो भूला और जैसा होना था मैं भी भूल गया। और जो हमारे डायरेक्टर थे उनका एक नियम था, एक रूल था कि प्रॉम्प्टिंग नहीं होगी। अब हम चक्कर में कि ये तीनों जने भूल गए, तो मैं क्योंकि उन सब में सीनियर था, मैंने एक लाइन बोल दी। हम करीब 5 या 6 पेज जंप कर रहे, हालांकि दर्शक समझ गए कि ये भूल गए हैं, और वो 5-6 पेज, क्योंकि जो मैंने लाइन बोली फिर लोगों ने वहां से पढ़ा। तो कहने का मतलब है इम्प्रोवाइजेशन की जरूरत होती है। स्कूल क्लासरूम में कैसे होती है, आप कुछ दिखाना चाह रहे थे, अब जैसे आज हुआ, इम्प्रोवाइजेशन कैसे किया प्रोफेसर मिश्रा ने, मेरी गलती ये थी, मैं शुरू में पूछना चाहिए था कि ऑडियो जैक है, क्योंकि मुझे पता था कि मेरे इसमें वॉइस है। तो इन्होंने इम्प्रोवाइजेशन कैसे किया, फौरन इन्होंने जाके माइक बंद कर दिया, इम्प्रोवाइजेशन। तो इस तरह से कई बार ऐसा होता है कि आपकी कोई इवेंट हो रहा है, आपकी आधी क्लास इवेंट में गई हुई है। तो स्कूल में पहले से बहुत होता था फ्री क्लास, कुछ नहीं करेंगे आज, आप जो करना है करो ना। उस फ्री क्लास का सदुपयोग करें, उसको यूज करें। उसमें कई चीज ऐसी हो सकती है जो आप रिकैप कर सकते हैं, कुछ चीजें ऐसी बता सकते हैं जो जनरल इंटरेस्ट की दोनों को हो। पर कभी भी फ्री क्लास का कॉन्सेप्ट एटलीस्ट स्कूल में हम डिस्वेड करते हैं कि कभी मत दीजिए फ्री क्लास, उसको किसी न किसी कंस्ट्रक्टिव यूज के लिए इस्तेमाल करें। यूटिलाइजेशन ऑफ स्टेज एंड स्टेज मूवमेंट। अब जैसे मैं ये पूरी बातचीत आपसे यहां खड़े होकर भी कर सकता हूं, ठीक है, मैं बोलता रहता और आपको बताता रहता, यहाँ से पॉइंटर घुमाता रहता, पर मैं कोशिश ये करता हूँ कि मैं जाऊं ढूंढूं। उसमें क्या होता है, दो हम टर्म यूज करते हैं ड्रामेटिक्स में, ब्लॉकिंग एंड चीटिंग। अगर आपने देखा हो कि प्ले में बहुत ज्यादा मूवमेंट बहुत ज्यादा नहीं होता है, अक्सर कलाकार अपनी जगह पकड़ लेता है और जहां रिक्वायर्ड है वहीं वो बड़े नपे तुले कदम से चल के फिर दूसरी जगह जाके वहां से डिलीवर करता है। तो ये जो डायरेक्टर होता है शुरू में ब्लॉकिंग कहते हैं कि कौन से कैरेक्टर में किस टाइम पे कौन सा डायलॉग उसमें कहाँ रहना है। और दूसरा है चीटिंग। ये वो चीटिंग नहीं है जिसको हम स्कूल कॉलेज में देखते हैं। यहाँ चीटिंग का मतलब है कि मैं डायलॉग उस समय ऑडियंस की तरफ पीठ नहीं करूंगा, मेरे को अगर देखना भी होगा तो मैं ऐसे देखूंगा और ऐसे बोलूंगा, ताकि पार्टली मेरा फेस, मेरे एक्सप्रेशन और मेरी वॉइस ऑडियंस पे भी जाए और मैं जिस चीज को इंगित कर रहा हूँ, पॉइंट कर रहा हूँ, वो भी दिखती रहे। तो इसको चीटिंग है। क्लासरूम टीचिंग में ये बहुत जरूरी है कि दोनों चीजें इफेक्टिव हो, ब्लॉकिंग एंड चीटिंग। सो व्हाइल आई वाज मूविंग, आई मूव्ड टुवर्ड्स हिम एंड लाइक आई सेड, नॉट दैट ही वाज स्लीपिंग, बट आई कॉट हिज अटेंशन बाय रेजिंग द वॉल्यूम एंड आई गॉट क्लोजर। स्कूल कॉलेजेस में अक्सर क्या होता है, पीछे के जो हम अक्सर कहते हैं बैक बेंचर्स बाय डेफिनेशन वो होते हैं जिनको बहुत ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट नहीं होता है, चलो आज पीछे बैठते हैं। और पीछे बैठ के क्या हो रहा है, अगर आप यहीं खड़े खड़े खा रहे हैं, आपको कुछ नहीं मालूम पीछे क्या रहा, वहाँ कार्टून बन रहे हैं या कोई बुक पढ़ रहा है। आप अगर मूव कर रहे हैं क्लास में, आपको पता चलता है आपकी क्लास में क्या हो रहा है। आप जब नजदीक जाके बात करते हैं तो बच्चा भी सजग हो जाता है। चाइल्ड इज अवेयर दैट माय टीचर कैन कम एनी टाइम, राइट, इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ टीचिंग एंड से मैम आपके समझ में आ रहा है मैं क्या बता रहा हूँ, आ रहा है ना। मतलब इसका ये नहीं कि इनको यहाँ पे मेरे को परेशान करना है। अब क्या होगा अगर मैंने इनको एक बार से बोल दिया, अभी अगले 10 मिनट तक मुझे ध्यान से सुनेंगी, क्योंकि इनको ये रहेगा मन में कि ये इसका कुछ पता नहीं, हो सकता है फिर 5 मिनट में आ जाए और मुझसे पूछे आपके समझ में आ रहा है। और उसमें सबसे बड़ी चीज क्या होती है कि अच्छा ये बताइए कि जो मैंने संजीव कुमार की मूवीज को दिखाए थे ना, सीन दिखाया ना, आप हैं सो गए। संजीव कुमार की मूवी का सीन था, इसमें बीचों बीच में संजीव कुमार थे ना, याद है? उनके साथ कौन? नहीं, मेरे कहने का मतलब ये है, अगर मैंने सवाल पूछ लिया, जैसे अब आपने जया बच्चन थी, जया भादुड़ी थी, उसने जो भी थी, पर क्लास को ये रहता है कि ये ऐसा नहीं कि ये 40 मिनट वहीं खड़ा रहेगा और आपने जो करना पीछे कर लो। So this gives an opportunity to the teacher to not only know your students better, but also make the class more cohesive, right? Keep the students alert, give the teacher chance to see every student's work. अगर मैंने कुछ काम दिया हुआ है, while you are doing that work, अगर आप कुछ solve कर रहे हैं, कोई diagram बना रहे हैं, कोई structure बना रहे हैं, rather than just standing here, if I keep moving around, it gives me a greater opportunity to interact with my class. So that is the importance of the stage movement. Props and teaching aids. किसी भी play के लिए props बहुत जरूरी है. So props form an integral part of any play. Though I have seen this play, some of you may have heard about this, Waiting for Godot. It's a very abstract play. And I have seen this play in India, which was performed by Benjamin Gilani and Nasruddin Shah. In the entire play, which is over 2 hours, not a single prop is used. not even one. They are just on the stage and delivering dialogues. But knowing the quality and class of these actors, for us, for 2 hours we were spellbound. We were just listening to what they were saying and what they were doing. Not even once in a But then this kind of thing can only happen when you have a very mature audience. Then you can perform a play like this. In a classroom, especially if I am talking of a school classroom, you have young children. And as such, with this generation, the attention span is very limited. So to keep them motivated and engrossed in the classroom is very, very difficult. So if you don't use these props, it can become a play like Waiting for Godot, and everyone is fast asleep. And what do? It makes the teaching slightly easier. Now, what kind of props, audio visual support can we use? Now, I'll just show you this small clipping, and I'll tell you an interesting incident related to this in this very college that happened with us. Now, especially in schools, you can't show alkali metals so easily. Sodium to some extent, yes. Rest are not even available. I've just taken a small clip, but it shows all alkali metals, how they react with water. One of the most sought after experiments in the school is this one. Every class, every school wants to see this. Not as a video, but live. I'll tell you something interesting related to this video. I don't know what is the situation now, but I remember our labs downstairs, organic chemistry lab, there was a water tank across the road which never had a cover. Without a cover?
Without a cover.
Okay. Now, we had some very classic set of friends with us. So I named a few Dr. Vinod Bhavni, who eventually, sadly, is no more with us, but he was very, very naughty. And we had one Dr. Amit, who became a medical doctor later. They were all tikadmi. So what we did, we said, किस दिन sodium खूब सारा लेके डालते हैं उसमें. Now we used to get small pieces of sodium for experiments, and we used to cut out some pieces and we used to get this big sheet of filter paper, और उसमें बड़े सहज के सजा के संभाल के सोडियम सेफ रख दिया जाता था. जब एक दिन काफी इकट्ठा हो गया, उसके बाद ड्यूटी लगी सबकी. डॉक्टर एम.आई. हुसैन सर का रूम था ना बिल्कुल हमारे लैब के बगल में. तो विनोद भापनी उनका चहेता था. विनोद भापनी को वहां खड़ा कर दिया कि आप सर को उलझा के रखेंगे, और 2-3 बाहर कॉरिडोर में खड़े कर दिए गए. एक खड़ा किया बगल की लैब, हम लोग बॉयज कम थे, गर्ल्स ज्यादा थी, तो एक को खड़ा किया गर्ल साइड में कि इनमें से कोई बाहर ना जाए, ये फौरन शिकायत कर देगी इन लड़कों ने गड़बड़ कर दी. और अमित हमारे साथ सबसे खुराफत जो थे, उनको काम सौंपा गया कि आप गिरा के आए. और अमित नगर उन्होंने वो लिया, चुपचाप टहलते गए, ऐसे करते गए, और तो वहाँ तो कवर उसमें कभी होता ही, तो हमने से गिराया उसमें. उसके बाद वापस आ गए. हम बिल्कुल अपने लोरेट टेप लगा के जो करा करते हुए थोड़ी देर में एग्जैक्टली ऐसा तो नहीं हुआ. तो वहाँ कुछ शुरुआत हो गई, और डॉक्टर सेन गुप्ता और एक डॉक्टर एस.बी. श्रीवास्तव होते, उनको हम एंटीमनी सर कहते. एस.बी.एस. थे एंटीमनी श्रीवास्तव, एंटीमनी सर. उन दोनों ने ये धुआं और ये सब देख लिया, वो दौड़ रहे, क्या हो गया, आग लगी है, क्या हो गया? और हम सर क्या हुआ सर? अमित सबसे आगे सर क्या हुआ सर? मैं सर वो बुलाऊं सर किसी को? और मैं जब वो याद करता था, अच्छा मैं जब ये टॉपिक पढ़ाता था बच्चों को, ये किस्सा जरूर सुना, वो कहाँ है? और अमित भट्टागर डॉक्टर है दुबई में, अभी जब भी मिलते हैं वही कहते हैं सोडियम की याद करते हैं। एनीवे, तो पॉइंट है, जब आप इसको रिलेट करते हो, कोरिलेट करते हो किसी रियल लाइफ इंसिडेंट से, कभी किससे, तो एक बच्चों में जो इंटरेस्ट डेवलप हो जाता है, वो फिर अगली चीज जो चाहते हैं हमें ये दिखाइए आप सोडियम। और सोडियम में एक ऐसा एक्सपेरिमेंट है जो सेफली स्कूल में भी दिखाया जा सकता है, आप थोड़ा दूर रख लीजिए बच्चों को, सब होता है। कहने का मतलब ये, अगर मैं खाली वीडियो दिखा दूंगा उसका उतना इम्पैक्ट नहीं होगा जितना एक लाइव डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन सोडियम पीस के साथ। और हम सब कर सकते हैं, स्कूल में तो इजीली कर सकते हैं। The whole idea is, by doing all this, using these kind of props, you can just make the classroom teaching more interesting and effective. IT resources, there is no shortage. I mean, our time things were different, but today you go to the search engines and you will find hundreds and hundreds of videos, demonstrations, which will help you in making your teaching more interesting. Models, teaching aids, but excessive use of this is also not good. Some teachers, what they do still is they'll make a PowerPoint presentation, put all the notes on the screen, and they'll stand at one corner. कहेंगे अच्छा कॉपी कर लीजिए इसे, ओके आगे बढ़ूं, अगली स्लाइड। Idea is they might say I use PowerPoint presentations, but for what? It's like या तो आप डिक्टेट करके नोट्स दे दीजिए, या आप PowerPoint पे लिख दीजिए, या बोर्ड पे लिख दीजिए, असर तो वही रहा, समझने बच्चों को नहीं आएगा। So excessive use of these can also be bad. Like videos, attention span is very limited, especially of younger children. 3 to 4 minutes is more than enough. No matter how interesting your video is, 5th minutes onward they'll start using it. You may show 3 different videos at intervals, short ones, but they will capture the imagination of the child. Now these are some quick do's and don'ts that we follow strictly in schools, but many of them may be very effective even in colleges. A clear lesson plan, creating the right atmosphere. So even lights play a major role. If I switch off all the lights and the room is dark and dingy, the effectiveness of teaching goes down. So the classroom should be well lit by natural light if possible, otherwise you need to have your lights. Engage the entire class, make eye contacts, volume should be loud enough so that it can be heard by everyone clearly. Don't rattle off, don't go too fast or too slow, right? At optimum speed. Voice modulation, positive body language, move around occasionally, encourage note taking. Now there's a difference between dictating notes and note taking. So while you're explaining, encourage the children to make their own short notes, which they can, work out later, rather than just, dictate the notes or put a PowerPoint presentation or put a video for 30 minutes, and almost my entire class will be taken care of. Don't be rude. This comes from my own experience. The teacher should never be rude. We were, I think, far more saintly as students than what we face now. Because classroom teacher, I was shouted at that stage. If you were shouted at and the girls were around, you definitely felt very humiliated, right? But I kept quiet. Today you do that, the student will snap back at the teacher immediately. And if not, the parent will come the next day saying, it was a traumatic experience for my child and I am taking some legal action. This happens. It is happening in schools that you shout at a child, you say something to a child, you use the word like idiot or something, you can be tracked to the court straight away. So it's not the same situation again. Things like, are you there? Were you not listening when I was explaining? Right? If you are really time pressed, tell the child, okay, I'll explain it to you later. Why don't you come to me at some stage? I'll explain to you. But don't say something which will stop the child from asking you forever. Be humorous, but not personal while cracking the joke. Right? The teaching should not just focus on examination. Many times, especially in schools now, the whole focus is, this is in the, even children, while you're teaching, if I go slightly off the topic, they'll say, sir, this is not in the syllabus. Sir, this has been asked last year, sir, it won't come this year. So the whole focus is examination now. But that doesn't stop you as a teacher from teaching. Be prepared with the plan B if plan A doesn't work. Encourage them to ask questions and appreciate good answers. Encouraging words, even if the answers are wrong, give them some encouragement. Try to get the answers out of them. If they can't, they should not feel that they're not nothing good at. Group discussions wherever possible. This is used a lot nowadays for group discussions. I remember when we teach radicals and valencies, we don't make them just memorize. We break them into groups. Radicals having valency 2 and valency 3 and valency 1. I say now make your, say I want sodium phosphate. Right? So your sodium valency 1 and phosphate 3 and they come in. So suddenly the whole idea of making it a bit more lively helps. Be a facilitator rather than being a teacher and make real life corrections wherever possible. This is what we face a lot. We have resources with us, but we don't take the right decisions. This is a fact, and in today's time we actually are loaded with resources, but we don't know how to use them. And I'll show you this. This I just picked up from Facebook a couple of years back. This is a combination. There's nothing to do with chemistry, nothing to do with teaching, but it is something to do with how. So we all need to know, I think, aspire. And when I say we, it's primarily we who are into the profession of teaching. Many of you here are teaching. Some of you may join the profession later. So we need to aspire to become inspiring teachers. My acknowledgements to all these, especially Dr. Pragati Kushwaha and Dr. Shashi Pandey. Thank you for permitting me to use your picture. I hope Professor Mishra told you. Thank you. Some pictures that I had from old recollection of some teachers. You may remember some of them. These were our classmates. This is one of those either farewell or welcome parties. That's me. So it was one of the farewell parties to the seniors, and that is where the dramatic started getting into me. So I did one of the mono acts here. I think it was downstairs.
Is that the BSc lecture theatre downstairs?
MSc. That's me and my brother.
This is a badge. So this is Dr. Amit Bhatnagar. This one.
Yes,
Very innocent looking, but very mischievous. This is AB. This is Dr. Vinod Bapani. This gentleman, he is in Chandigarh nowadays, Rahul Jain. That's on top, Sunil Pandey, he's a retired forest officer. Lots of them, old enemies. Anil Tiwarsan. My friend Amitabh Srivastava there, the blue jacket. This is the inorganic group. And this is the recent one. He was also my batchmate, and he married one of our batchmates, Sangeeta London. And when he posted this, immediately my mind went back straight to the windows and I said, grills. Now these windows have grills because these were the windows, especially the last one, from where you could just slip out of the car. Thank you so much.